Normally when I do one of these videos, I'm talking about more like how I'm currently feeling or like what's going on. Uh, but this time I wanted to talk about like dealing with like anxiety and depression, like kind of how to keep myself out of falling into a rut, I guess. Um, so I think like most importantly, um, I should say like I am on antidepressants, and they definitely help a lot. Like they kind of do kickstart me. Um, you know, and what the heck? Okay, well, that's not gonna work. But I also realize, like medication's not for everybody. Not that this is like necessarily like here's the things that you should do to like feel productive. But these are things that I do to kind of help myself from, again, falling into a rut and like trying to stay productive. And the thing is, like, it still doesn't always work. Um, but I wanted to talk about it a little bit. Uh, it's always so funny too when I'm making one of these. I notice that I like am not as confident with my language, which I think is like also very funny. Uh, just like that, there's lots of like uhs and ums. So, firstly, I don't. Again, like I think it's hard to build habits. I think it's super difficult to build habits. So, if anybody does want to try to do any of this stuff because they think it would help, remember to like not feel bad about it if you're struggling at first, because it's not like I just woke up one day and was like, let me do all these things. It took time to try to get into the habit, and when I failed, I wasn't super hard on myself about it. Like try to forgive yourself, because it's not always gonna be easy. And again, you don't need to do exactly what I do. Like this isn't advice. It's more like, hey, this is what I do, and if you have things that would fit you better, you should try that as well if you're struggling. Firstly, I make my bed every day, which I think is, I don't know, it's so funny to me because there was a time when I don't think I ever would have thought to make my bed. I was like, yeah, like what's the point? Like I don't know, but just like that first action during the day, like rolling out of bed. I'm not saying I'm like getting out of bed super early. Sometimes I'm still getting out of bed like pretty late in the day. Like I'll roll out of bed at like 10. But once I'm out, I'm like, all right, time to like, you know, make my sheets nice, put the pillows on, and that's like the first like action. Once I've done that action, I'm like, nice, all right, like I'm doing good. I did something that's like good for me, and that being said, like I didn't start like doing that and all of a sudden I was like uh, doing it every day. It took time for me to build up that momentum to like always do it every morning, which oops, again, if you want to do something like that, if you're not doing it right away, please don't feel bad about it. I want to keep reiterating that. Like, don't feel bad if you're struggling with doing something that seems easy for somebody else to do. Like, some stuff that you do might be very easy for you and difficult for others. So, like, if you're not doing something, like, don't feel bad about it. Uh, One of the other tips that I hear, um, from like just like regular productivity, like I don't know, gurus or something, right? It's like as humans, we like things to be as convenient as possible for us. So a small inconvenience is sometimes enough for us to not do an action. So like for example, right? I need to change my sheets once a week. Admittedly, I sometimes struggle with doing that. I'll be a few days later or something. But something that I do, right? Like let's say I get out of bed instead of making my bed that day. It's so funny that I'm so focused on like my bed. I'll lift like 2 of the corners of my sheets. So if I were to want to go back to bed, I would have to put those corners back on and then sleep in that. But by just doing that action of removing those 2 corners and then, leaving, going and doing something else, I'm going to come back and I'll be like, oh yeah, like I should finish this. Like, let me take my sheets off and then like throw them in the laundry, right? Put on my clean sheets. Because I've, removed a barrier that was kind of stopping me before, even if it was just like a small barrier. So like, there's like so many things that we can do to like make things a little bit easier for us when it comes to doing like certain tasks. Like another example, right, is like if you need to do laundry, right, and you keep your hamper or whatever it is you keep your dirty clothes in. I actually keep mine in a cardboard box under my bed because it fits perfectly. Actually, I kind of want to leave that in there. No, I should take it out. Like moving that closer to my door is like an action that removes a barrier for me and then makes it easier for me to get that task done. Goodbye. I'm trying to make a rock garden in Animal Crossing as well. It's not going as planned. I have too many open spaces. Another thing that I do, and again, I think, like, I hate hearing, like, I have people who, like, don't struggle with, like, any kind of neurodivergence or something, talk about, like, they know something. It's like, I don't know, you'll see those memes. It's like, oh, you're just depressed because you don't go outside and, like, whatever it is, you're not exercising and you don't whatever, I always think that's so, like, silly and dumb and, like, unaware of, like, what people actually, like, experience. But I do go on a walk every day. This past year, I haven't missed a walk I haven't missed a walk at all, other than when I had a foot injury, which took me out for a few days. But like I find that like that action does actually help. Not necessarily because it's like, oh, I'm getting outside and getting fresh air. It's like I'm doing something that I planned on doing, and like, so it doesn't need to even be like a walk. And sometimes like I don't want to go on a long walk. Sometimes I want to go on a super short walk. I'll go on like around the block. Sometimes I'm going like 2 or 3 miles. But getting like a task that I planned on doing finished, I feel like always helps me. I do think the exercise does help too. Like in some respects, like, I don't know, your endorphins do, like, I don't know, you get an endorphin rush. I started running as well this year. And I think it, in theory, helps with like my mental stuff, but I just turned 31. I started running when I was 30. But I also thought it was time for me to like take my health like seriously. Not that I feel unhealthy, but it's like I feel like it's important to try to, I'm not young anymore. I can't like eat a bag of Doritos, but that's neither here nor there. But I don't know. I think like being able to get like that first task done of my day is another thing that like kickstarts me. And I'm like, oh yeah, like I've done that thing now. So I've taken to making a lot of like lists now, like to-do lists. And sometimes the things on here are super easy. It'll be like eat. I'm not even joking. It'll be like eat. But the action of me like marking something like that off feels so good because I'm like, all right, nice, like that's done. And so I'll have like a long-term list, something that I'm like planning on getting done over a few months, and like short-term list, like maybe the week or like the day. And I think that really helps me as well. Because I think that like accomplishing a task, like no matter how small it is, feels good. Like, it feels like I'm getting something done. And like, regardless of the size or the significance of it, I think it's important for me personally to see that I'm like doing things, like getting it done. Like, I really like that. And again, that might not work for you, right? That's fine too. Um, but I think the most important thing out of all of this, and I think that this is something that a lot of people do struggle with. And I was already mentioning it before, right? But like, some things are going to be harder for you. Some things might be easier. That's just like what being a person is. But like, regardless of like if you feel like you're struggling with something, I think it's really, really, really important to be able to forgive yourself when it feels like you can't get it done, because it's not necessarily your fault, right? Like, you know, it's okay to it's okay to be in a rut too. Like, it's okay to like feel bad, right? I think that like you kind of end up getting into a vicious cycle with yourself, and you're like, dang it, like I suck and I can't do this thing. So then you continue to not do these things, where it's important. It's like, hey, being a person is really hard sometimes, and I need to be like okay with like taking a rest and like, you know, spending a day watching TV. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. It's important to be able to be like, hey, I need this to feel like good, re-energize myself. And then I think when you're like able to forgive yourself for like feeling bad or like not being able to get stuff done, you kind of start to be able to like get out of how you're feeling, at least a little bit. Like, that's not necessarily always the case. Like, again, sometimes no matter what I do, I just feel like I'm in a rut. And I get that, right? Like, you know, again, I'm on antidepressants and they help a lot, like kickstarting stuff for me. Um, so it's just like, I get that, like, sometimes it's still gonna feel really bad. But at the end of it, you need to be like, hey, it's okay. I'm gonna be okay. And it's okay for me, like, not to get this done today. It's okay for me to feel bad today. It's okay for me to take the day for myself. Anyways, thanks for watching.